Kicking off the countdown at number 10 is Ronnie and Sam from Jersey Shore. Rest in peace, the most toxic relationship I've ever witnessed in my entire life so far. If you followed the reality show, then you followed the epic fights that this couple had pretty much every other day. They started dating in the first season back in 2009, and they were on and off for years until 2016. There's honestly too many fights to name. I could literally probably have a top 10 list just with their fights alone. But one fight we will never forget is when Ronnie started taking all of Sam's belongings and tossing them out the door onto the upper deck. He broke her glasses in the process and completely destroyed the majority of her stuff. The craziest part is when he took her bed, like the whole bed, and started to throw it outside, and she jumped on top of it and held on like a spider monkey as he was literally trying to throw it out the window. Needless to say, he got the mattress, but he did not get the bed frame, in case you're wondering. Up next, number 9 is the feud between Amanda and Jessica on Love is Blind. This show aired this past month in February 2020 and has completely taken the world by storm with its unique concept and drama-packed episodes. If you haven't seen it, it helps singles find their match without seeing each other face to face to create this emotional connection over a physical one. And then they have 30 days to get engaged and plan their wedding. It's honestly really weird and crazy, but people are loving it, and I did start watching it. But there's been an ongoing feud between two of the girls on the show, and it is all over a man. Shocker. Long story short, a man named Barnett built a close bond with two girls, Jessica and Amber, but he ended up picking Amber and they ended up getting married. Turns out, Jessica was actively trying to pursue her fiance throughout the whole process, and Amber confronted her, telling her that she would ruin her life and break her nose. Sniping our number 8 spot comes from the MTV reality show The Challenge. Anyone who's followed the series knows that you never want to mess with CT. He is physically enormous and a complete loose cannon when he is angry. Throughout the seasons, he had an ongoing feud with a guy named Adam, and things got heated between them on a few different occasions. But one of their altercations came during the season The Duel 2, and CT went wildebeest on him and had to be held back by 6 other grown men who he was able to fight off also. He is intense, you guys, honestly. The fight has gone down in reality show history, and people often refer to the brawl as David vs. Goliath. Anyone who has heard that Bible lesson before will understand the joke. In spot number 7 is the popular baking show Cake Boss. During season 1, episode 11, there was a mistake within the episode that showed its viewers it's not as authentic as it claimed to be. People pointed out the scene when Buddy is doing a lobster-themed cake for a bachelor party. When he goes in to talk to his staff, there is a huge 3-tier high cake being worked on in the background, almost complete. But when the scene cuts to him making the parts for the lobster cake, the cake in the back has less tiers, no icing, and no decorations. And it keeps going back and forth between the scenes from decorated 3-tier cake to undecorated smaller cake, which shows us that it's not actually being filmed in order and it's kind of staged and scripted. Moving on to number 6 is Towie, also known as The Only Way is Essex. It's a British reality TV series which claims to be about real people in real situations. But as we have been learning on this list, there are a lot of things in reality shows that are staged or set up before the cameras start rolling. But if you're going to set up a scene for entertainment, you at least have to hide that fact. The show was exposed once a fan pointed out that one of the girls from the show, Megan McKenna, was seen talking on her phone in one scene, but she was actually holding it upside down. I mean, come on. This is pretty embarrassing. Alright guys, we are halfway through and we have The Hills. If you're anything like me, you spent all of your high school years binge watching this show, hoping and wishing that you were a part of it. It was totally convincing, and I feel confident saying that we all thought, or at least hope, that it was real, until the series finale twist ending. They end with Kristen Cavallari and Brody Jenner having this emotional goodbye, because she's apparently leaving the city. But then the director yells, "Cut," and the camera zooms out to expose that the whole thing was staged. Like the Hollywood sign was literally a fake prop, the car was on a set, the whole thing was staged. But then, to confuse us, the cast started talking, saying that that was done on purpose to leave the audience with the question, was it real or was it fake? But since it's been so many years since the show, the cast has felt more comfortable talking about it, and Kristen told the audience on Andy Cohen's talk show, I quote, "I can tell you most of my stuff wasn't real. I'm just happy that more people are coming out and saying that stuff isn't real, because for the longest time, it was only me." I really believed this. I really believed that it was all real. Rolling into number 4 spot is the series Haunted. Fans tuned into the Netflix series because it was said to tell true stories that have never been solved or explained before. The show's producers have said that the stories and people involved are 100% true. But after one of the episodes titled Slaughterhouse, the show was exposed for not being truthful. The episode told the horrifying story of an uncaught serial killer who allegedly took the lives of victims in upstate New York. But fans started questioning how people died from these events without the police getting involved. The showrunners said that they reached out to the authorities but didn't receive any feedback. However, some digging was done. The director of public information, Bo Duffy, said, "I spoke with our Bureau of Criminal Investigation and they have not received any information from the producers or Netflix in regards to the alleged crimes that were portrayed on this program." Obviously, if these crimes did take place, I feel like the police would know about it. In the 3rd spot comes from the MTV show The Real World, when Nia fought with Johnny and Avery. The TV show did a season in Portland and not all the strangers in the house were able to get along with each other. During one of the final episodes, fans watched as Nia threatened to beat up Johnny and his girlfriend Avery. She even made a makeshift weapon out of a hairdryer. The feud reached a boiling point and Nia started attacking Johnny, which made Avery come to his defense. And from there, the whole thing escalated and the two girls started fist fighting. It went down in history to be called one of the most brutal fights in real world history, with people claiming that it was very hard to watch. I actually follow that show like all the time and I actually watched it live when it was happening, and yeah, it's pretty intense. Taking over number 2 is Abby Lee Miller from the reality series Dance Moms. It's not the typical show you would expect to see physical altercations to happen on, which is why the world was taken by storm when they did. This one is more serious than the other ones on our list because there were actually children present and an arrest was made. Abby Lee is known for being a strict dance teacher, and on the show she often has arguments with some of the other dancers' moms. But none of them got as bad as this one, which resulted in Abby and a mom named Kelly putting their hands on one another. Abby ended up calling the police on her, saying that she attacked her. Kelly ended up filing a countersuit against her, including the Dance Moms production company, for $5 million. She claimed that her daughters were mistreated on the show and that there had been a breach of contract. So this feud was a physical altercation, but then led to a very long and serious lawsuit. Alright guys, we have made it to number 1 and we have The Situation vs. The Wall. If you watch Jersey Shore, you know exactly what I am talking about. If you didn't watch the show, all you need to really know is that Mike Sorrentino, aka The Situation, often had issues with his other housemates, but one of them in particular named Ronnie. Like Ronnie and Sam that I spoke about in number 10? Him. One night, things got heated and the two of them got into the biggest physical altercation that fans had ever seen on the show. But the argument ended up involving an extra participant, the Wall. At one point in the fight, Mike slams his own head against the concrete wall, knocking himself to the ground. He ended up being carried to the hospital on a stretcher and suffered from a really bad concussion, so he actually had to take a break from the activities on the show while wearing a neck brace the whole time. Next up at number 9 is The Voice. This one makes me a little bit irritated because I feel like a competition show based around someone's talent and dreams should be nothing but real. But former contestants have come forward exposing different ways that the show is actually fake. The one thing that makes the show stand out against other singing competition shows is the fact that it is a blind audition. The judges can't see them and they only hit their buzzer if they are impressed with their voice and sound. Turns out that is not actually true. Apparently these blind auditions are actually very planned. One former contestant said that you had to go through 5 different auditions before doing the blind one that we see on TV. And through those auditions, the coaches can see you. They also revealed that everything is planned for you, even the genre and song that you sing at the televised audition. So the show really isn't just about the voice like it claims. Sliding into number 8 is Hell's Kitchen. If you've never seen the show, a group of amateur chefs from all walks of life are put in a competition to try and land a job as an executive chef at one of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants. Now, I only say amateur because in comparison to the position on the show, that's what they might be considered. I am not discrediting any of their works or talent. But the whole premise of the show is that they are basically put through hell. It's no secret that Gordon Ramsay is the toughest chef on the planet and has no problem saying it how it is. He's intense. He's known for his potty mouth, his hilarious hilarious yet extremely rude insults, and his ability to make people crumble in the kitchen. But despite the fact that it looks legitimate with real contestants and real diners in restaurants, apparently some people we see on the show are actually paid actors who are hired to stir the pot and create some good TV drama. Like the times you see Gordon getting into it with some contestants to a point where you think like they might get into a fist fight, it's not real. Gordon actually has bodyguards hidden on the set that we just don't see, and those people are actors. Some contestants are real competitors, and they reveal that there's no guarantee that you even win anything. Sometimes when you win the show, there ends up being like working visa issues or government grant delays, and you get left with nothing in the end. So like, is it really worth it? I don't know. In spot number 7 is the epic feud from the hills between Lauren Conrad and Heidi Montag. 5 words to sum it up for you, or to refresh your memory. You know what you did. The drama between these two girls has gone down in history. They started out as best friends, practically becoming sisters as they lived together, and took the lead spots on the reality series. But then Heidi met a guy named Spencer Pratt, and things went sour real quick. You'd have to watch the show to understand the years of turmoil they went through, but at one point Heidi was allegedly telling people that Lauren made a tape and even leaked it to the press. So during this explosive confrontation in public at a very fancy event, Lauren blew up on Heidi and iconically yelled in her face, "You know what you did," because Heidi just kept playing dumb, saying she had no idea why Lauren was mad. That was like the typical move in high school that all girls used. Like, you know what you did, but then you just play dumb and you'd be like, what? Why are you upset with me? I have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, I know exactly what you're talking about. Moving along to number 6 is Kenya Moore vs. Portia Williams on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Whenever someone whips out a megaphone and yells, "You are a dumb," you know that stuff is about to go down. The two ladies had tension between each other in the series, which reached a boiling point, ending in a physical altercation. There was a lot of hair pulling and smack talk, but the fight actually resulted in Kenya pressing assault charges on Portia. She was issued an arrest warrant for her attack, which was all captured on tape, so there was really no denying it. She ended up turning herself in and was put behind bars. She was later let go on a $2,000 bond. She was charged with a misdemeanor battery and had to pay a fine along with doing community service hours. Not worth it, girlfriend. Not worth being put behind bars. Halfway through at number 5 comes from the show Flavor of Love, the feud between Pumpkin and New York. There are a lot of reality dating shows nowadays, and this one is similar to like the whole Bachelor concept. Flavor Flav looks for his next love among 20 new single contenders, so you can just imagine how competitive the ladies would get. One of the feuds went down between two girls who go by their names Pumpkin and New York, and it led to one of them getting spat on. The spitting scene went viral online and showed Pumpkin firing like a loogie in New York's face. Like, you can literally see her gathering mucus from her insides and like winding up to hork it on her. She spit on her and then booked it, so New York chases after her and pushes her on the head, and they crash into some of the cameras. It's crazy, it's chaotic, it's really disgusting in all honesty. She really horks in her face. We've made it to number 4, and we have Jordan and Christian from The Bachelor in Paradise. This one might be the most ridiculous one on our list because the whole fight was over a piñata. Two grown men fighting over a piñata. Here's the whole story. Both men had feelings for Nicole Lopez Alvar, and one night she got back from a date with Christian, so a guy named Clay went to snag some time with her. But Christian wanted to continue the date and refused to give Clay any time with her, so Clay walked away, but then he went and vented to some of his buddies on the show. His buddy Jordan felt that it was important to stick up for his friend, so he crashed Christian and Nicole's hangout by trying to tear down the piñata they had hung. And that is when the two men started fist fighting over this star-shaped piñata. It's so ridiculous. In the 3rd spot is Survivor. Now, I don't know if I'm just in denial about this one, but I really do not want to believe that this one is fake. The show has become iconic since it started back in 2000 and now has a total of 38 seasons, which were all a huge success. The whole premise of the show is contestants sign up and get stranded on a remote island where they have to try and survive on it. They face different challenges and tasks in order to win the grand money prize, but people also get voted off each week. Turns out that there are some real aspects of the show, but a lot of what we see is staged. Despite being isolated in the wilderness trying to fend for themselves for food, past contestants have admitted that the producers gave them food and fire, we just didn't see it. The producer himself, Mark Burnett, also admitted that it wasn't the real contestants doing the challenges. Turns out they used body doubles to enhance the quality of the scenes, since the swimming challenges and stunts wouldn't have gone very well for average individuals. Former contestants have also said that production manipulated and controlled who got voted off each week, so it makes you wonder what parts were actually real then. Cause to me that just sounds like a whole bunch of fake. The deception is killing me. I feel like a fool because I was convinced that these people were literally out there like surviving. Taking over the number 2 spot is Long Island Medium. This one will be totally opinion based. It will all depend on if you believe in psychics and the work that they do. Teresa Caputo is the most famous self-proclaimed psychic in the world and has her own reality show called Long Island Medium. The show follows her personal life at home and as well as her tours where she does live psychic reading shows across the globe. But many people have come forward saying that her show is fake, including her abilities as a psychic. People have pointed out that in her live shows when she calls out people from the audience and starts to say that she's feeling a spirit from their life, that they are actually clients of hers who she has worked with before, so they're not just random members of the audience. Which would mean that this random spirit she's coming into contact with isn't so random. During one of the episodes we see her call out a woman from the audience saying, "Why am I picking up baby clothes?" and people just seemed astonished that she would know something random like that. But the woman replied with, "Oh, that's weird, I just put a bunch of pictures of baby clothes on my Facebook page." People have said that she researches members from her audience when they purchase a ticket online to her show, and then she creeps basically and has some background information to use during her performance. But like I said, I think this one is all just personal based. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments. Finally, in the number 1 spot is The Bachelor/Bachelorette. Now this really shouldn't come as shocking news to you, but I do know that there are some diehard fans out there who try to convince me that this is in fact real and everything we see is completely unscripted and unplanned. I'm serious you guys, I've had this argument with my own sister. But in October of this year, The Bachelor was exposed for staging and reshooting key scenes. Shocker. The tea was spilled and it was revealed that the producers often manipulated what the contestants do and say, and many of the authentic moments that the audience thought they saw was in fact coached by production off screen. The famous Bachelor spoiler account known as Reality Steve leaked behind the scenes footage of them filming a scene from a date multiple different times. On top of that, a former contestant came forward saying the scenes were always set up before filming and said that the cast was always told what to do and say. It's like they were acting out their scenes, not on a reality show. Which for me is not surprising, but maybe for those diehard fans it will be. Kicking off today's list at number 10 is American Idol. The nation became hooked on the show when it first came out back in 2002, basically setting the tone for the future of singing competition shows. For years, people have thought and trusted the fact that it truly is a reality show and the process of winning is unstaged and real. But as time went on, shady things started to come to surface and it doesn't seem to be as authentic than when it first aired. It was revealed that the whole audition process that we see on the show is actually fake. Apparently, scouts are sent out to find the best singers before they even hold the auditions. So they select the singers they are going to let through before even seeing them, and then they add some horrible singers in there, obviously for good ratings. Because let's be honest, those are the most entertaining to watch. The entire process is actually staged around what will make the season the most entertaining. Up next, number 9 is Storage Wars. If you haven't seen the show, it follows people who bid on storage lockers that go up for auction without seeing everything inside of it. You get a quick glimpse at what's in it, but then they auction it off to people without actually knowing the value of the items inside. Once the highest bidder gets the locker, they investigate what's inside and you can sell the items within it if it holds value. Basically, the person who makes the most money from their locker wins. It seems genuine and it's really fun to watch, but then we found out that it's not all real. Apparently the producers place items inside the lockers on purpose for the sake of the episode and outcome, which obviously changes the whole premise of the show because the items in the locker decide how the rest of the episode plays out. I honestly got played on this one. I was convinced it was real. Stealing the number 8 spot on our list is Undercover Boss. This one bums me out because I actually love the premise of the show, especially the happy endings, which apparently are all fake. In the show, the owner of the company will go undercover and work at their own company so they can discover what really goes on in the workplace. For the most part, they learn who is slacking, who is thriving, and what things can be improved in their business. And at the end of every episode, they give the good employees these huge opportunities like school scholarships, vacations for their families, a raise, things like that. But I found out that that is all fake. A lot of aspects of the show are fake and exaggerated. The employees on the show are carefully selected beforehand, and some scenes are even scripted, and the big grand prizes are often not followed through. Cool. I thought it was real this whole time. Genuinely. That's like a genuine statement. And spot number 7 is The Jerry Springer Show. Now, I like to keep some faith in humanity, and I hope that there's some people out there who already know that this show is fake. But I do know that there are some firm believers that the fistfights and ridiculous plot twists are all unstaged and real. But I'm here to shed some light for those people. Now, some things are in fact real. There are real people who write into the show with their real stories trying to get on the show. But there are also some participants who have admitted that their stories were fake and that they were just actors. One participant even said that the producers told them before filming that fistfights get them more ratings, so they encourage it. It's also been revealed that the fight scenes are pre-planned. Production has to coach the show participants when to start a fight based on where the camera crew is, and also their #1 rule is that Jerry has to be off to the side of the stage when a fight is started, obviously for safety concerns. You cannot hurt the moneymaker. Literally. But I am still hoping that most of you already knew that this was fake. Moving on to number 6 is MTV Cribs. A big part of my childhood was spent watching the show, so this is a little disappointing to learn. Not gonna lie. The show followed all of our favorite celebrities as they gave us an exclusive house tour of their fancy ass homes that we hoped one day we could afford, but we never will. Basically making you feel like a total peasant. But when I was researching for this video, I found out something that is now making me question my entire life. A lot of mansions and luxury cars that we saw on the show were rented for that episode. Like, some of the celebrities would just straight up borrow a house for the day and then shoot their episode. Some people who faked their episodes were JoJo, Ja Rule, Robbie Williams, 50 Cent, Lil Bow Wow, and the list just goes on and on. But karma came back for one of them, and Ja Rule ended up getting sued by the real homeowners after he rented it for 4 days for the episode, but then threw a huge party after filming was done. Classic. Although I'd do the same thing, give me a break. Halfway through our list at number 5 is The Simple Life. Ladies, do not even pretend that you didn't shamelessly watch this show and get a good laugh out of it. I was almost mad at myself for how much I actually liked this one. But for the people who had better time on their hands and chose not to watch it, the show followed Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie as they stayed with a small town family and learned how to live and adapt to a middle class life. They didn't have their cell phones, and the only money they had access to while on the show was the money they earned from the various part-time jobs that they would work. Seeing these girls try to milk cows and work a burger joint was honestly hilarious. It's actually a really funny show. And it was totally believable because they obviously come from money, so to them it really was a whole different lifestyle. But many years after the series ended, Paris admitted that the show was all an act. She spoke with Access Hollywood and dropped a few truth bombs saying that they were told to play up these characters. Paris explained, "They said, Nicole, you play the troublemaker. Paris, you play the ditzy airhead. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into or what a huge success it would be, and that I'd have to continue playing this character for 5 years. But she did admit that if she was her actual self, she doesn't think it would have been a success, and said that she took that character and turned it into a huge business tool, which made her a massive success on her own." Moving on to number 4, we got Divorce Court. The show started back in 1957 and has a total of 36 seasons. So whether it's real or not, it is a massive success. If you haven't seen it, it is exactly what it sounds like. You watch inside the courtroom of real life divorcing couples who each tell their stories to the judge, who then ultimately gives the ruling and all that stuff. But turns out that all of it was fake, and someone outed the show with some personal proof. One woman revealed that her daughter and her boyfriend were recruited to be on the show. They were never married, only dating, and they were given a backstory by the producers to lie about and act out on the show. Since then, more stories have come out, and even in the Wikipedia description now, it was updated, it says that the stories are all scripted reenactments of divorce cases but presented by actors. Honestly, I'd act out a dramatic divorce. I think that would be a fun gig. So like, who wants to hire me? Still in the 3rd spot is MTV's The Real World. I have no problem admitting that I have seen all 30 seasons now. The first one came out back in 1992, and I spent my adult years catching up. It's the incredibly successful show that sticks 7 strangers in a house and then just films them every day. Obviously, with different personalities and relationships forming between cast members, there's bound to be some drama. And there is. But apparently it is fake. One member from the 2009 Cancun season came out and exposed the whole show process during an interview. He said that the people were real but had to audition to play a certain role, and that all the events on the show were scripted ahead of time, including some of the fights. And the editing of the show was also toyed with. They would use lines from an early interview and place it later into the season to try and like stir the pot as if you had just said it. Reality is sneaky. And spot number 2 is the series break Breaking Amish. It follows a unique storyline of real young men and women who are trying to break free from their Amish culture in hopes to have a different life somewhere else. They actually go to New York City and do everything that they're not normally supposed to, like wearing jeans, using electricity, drinking alcohol, things like that. And normally in the episode we see that their family disowns them if they choose to leave and live a regular life. Religion is such a trigger point in our world right now, so I was actually surprised to learn that the show wasn't genuine. Through interviews with former cast members, it was revealed that the show was scripted and their struggles in the big city weren't actually real. And some of the members on the show had left the Amish community years before they even started filming. They're just a bunch of liars. Finally, at number 1, we have The Amazing Race. Come on, here I was thinking this was totally real. Pretty sure I once tried to convince one of my ex-boyfriends to sign up with me. That is not a joke. The show follows 2 people, usually relatives, spouses, or friends, around the world as they compete challenges along the way, like flight delays, jet lag, basically everything that just comes with traveling. And each week they have the potential of being up for elimination. But critics have pointed out that things look scripted and the elimination weeks are all planned. Because sometimes the host of the show, Phil, announces that it will be a non-elimination week. He admits that the show is planned out long in advance, not like the reality we thought it was. He said, "You can't just make this stuff up as you're going along. It comes with months and months of planning." Well, I'll be damned. And good thing I didn't get my ex and I on that show. Starting us off at number 10 is Geordie Shore. In January 2018, fans started calling out one of the castmates, Marnie, for celebrating her birthday 3 months in advance on the show. During that time, she had announced she would not be returning for the show, so she had no shame in exposing them by tweeting a response to a fan saying, "It's 'cause it's fake and scripted." She wasn't lying either, because another time a fan posted a picture of a script page on her Twitter that she had found discarded at a restaurant. In the script, you can actually see the discussion points are laid out for the cast, and you can even see Chloe's pre-planned departure from the show, which fans were convinced was totally spontaneous and in the heat of the moment when it happened. I did watch that episode, and I definitely thought that it was happening in that moment. Moving on to number 9 is Love Island. If you haven't watched the show before, a group of men and women do a series of different tasks and dates with a partner that they keep just swapping out until they meet the love of their life. Sounds super realistic. But after one of the seasons, the show was exposed for being fake after an ex-girlfriend came forward with the truth. There was a couple that fans were totally in love with, Danny and Jack, got a little shaken up when his ex-girlfriend Ellie was brought into the house. No one knew what was gonna happen. Would he leave Danny for her? Would there be some sort of chaotic love triangle? Well, Danny told The Sun that she was brought in to split up the lovebirds and that the producers told her to say things that would purposely irritate Danny. She said, "Producers will tell you when to talk. If they want you to add something or word it differently, they might ask you to change it. So if you thought it wasn't scripted, it is." While the scene is happening live. It's almost like they're improvising some of those scenes. Sliding into number 8 spot is Celebrity Big Brother. Back in 2016, fans were watching the live feed of the show and were stunned when they witnessed that things were actually staged. It sounded like a stage setup had slipped into the live feed on accident when they heard someone wishing all the housemates goodnight as the bedroom lights went off. After all the housemates shouted goodnight in reply, they appeared to go to sleep. But moments later, like literally a second later, the lights suddenly come back on and everyone just piled out of bed again. And the voice of the Big Brother show said, "Great take, guys, great take." You then heard a voice continue to explain to them that the next day was going to be a busy day of shooting. Fans were furious, and Channel 5 responded by insisting still that there is no script and that the show is entirely authentic. Cruising into number 7 is Cupcake Wars. If you're a sucker for baking shows like I am, then you might be disappointed by this. Each episode focuses on 4 contestants from different bakeries all across the United States. We see them go through 3 rounds of competition, baking the best cupcakes they can in order to win the prize of being featured at a big display event. The first round of the competition usually involves ingredients that you would never expect to see in a cupcake, like hamburger meat or something weird like that. And we're told that the contestants are finding all of this out on the spot so that they don't don't have any time to prepare ahead of time. Turns out that is not true. It was revealed that the contestants actually find out what the ingredients are prior to the filming of the competition. So all the reactions and stress that we find entertaining isn't actually real. They are pretty much acting all of it out. Good acting skills though. Next up at number 6 is Made. The reality series first aired back in 2002 and has a total of 13 seasons. Each episode follows a participant who is embarking on a mission to transform his or her life, achieving one of their lifelong dreams. For example, you often see amateur singers who are trying to make something happen, and by the end of the episode, they accomplish their dreams. Now, I feel like this one should be a little more obvious that it can't be completely real. It was exposed that a lot of the talents are already there, but then they downplay them in the beginning to make the change seem like really drastic, and everything is scripted ahead of time. That way the episode shows this like perfect dream come true storyline, basically giving us false hope that dreams can easily come true. So thanks for that. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Mystery Diners. The series has been aired on the Food Network since 2012 and is a huge hit for food lovers. The premise of the show is the owner of the restaurant contacts the host, Charles Styles, about a problem that he or her is having in their restaurant. Then Charles does a secret investigation and sets up hidden cameras, undercover employees and guests, all to figure out the solution of the problem. Anyways, I just want to say that it was really cool. Some people who watch the show will say that it is scripted and that it's obvious, but other people are fully convinced that every situation is real and genuine. However, the truth has come out and the show is completely scripted. Turns out that some of the restaurant employees are actually actors who audition for the part of the misbehaving employee. That way, when they get fired at the end of the episode, it doesn't actually leave like this aftermath effect on the restaurant, which is actually kind of clever and a little bit genius, but I really fell for it. Taking over our number 4 spot is one of my guilty pleasures. It is Dance Moms. Maybe some of you haven't seen it. It's basically a show about young girls who train at Abby Lee's dance studio and compete in weekly dance competitions all over the world. But what makes it so entertaining, besides the talented dancing, is the crazy dance moms. I guess a large chunk of the show is actually real. The dance training is real, and so are the competitions that we see on the show. That part is all real. But the drama and the epic blowouts between the moms is fake, and there's no arguing with me on it because some of the cast members have come forward and admitted it themselves. Maddie Ziegler's mom, Melissa, once said, "The moms have to fake fight sometimes. Afterward, they just start talking and laughing about it." Taking over our number 2 spot is Judge Judy. I am one of the victims to this show because I thought that it was genuine and real, but got completely fooled after finding out that the cases are not real. Former participants from the show admitted that they created their entire case in order to receive settlement money that the show pays, and also a free trip to LA. They spoke with Vice and said that the Judge Judy production team doesn't do deep background checks, so if your story sounds good enough, they will invite you on the show. They also admitted that the producers knew it was a made-up story and even told them that they can comp their meals as long as it's at different restaurants from each other, because then the production team would obviously know that the lawsuits against each other, like a married couple fighting, would not be real. So you're telling me that I can just make up a lawsuit and get on the Judge Judy show for some money and a free trip to LA? In our number 1 spot is America's Got Talent. It's been said that the show alters what we see on the TV version of the show and that the judges' votes don't actually decide who stays on the show and who leaves. But we did get some confirmation of part of these claims after a YouTuber named Captain Delusionman exposed the show for altering how we view the contestants. He used his knowledge and video skills to prove a magic trick that was aired on TV was actually edited. The tricks are edited and altered to exaggerate the magic more, such as adding in freeze frame for effect or editing something for a disguise. He also proved that there was a giveaway part in the trick and it was edited out from the TV version, so what we see on TV is not actually what the live audience is seeing.